Hello students, welcome back to the session. In this session, I'm going to be talking about tuples. Tuples is an ordered immutable collection of elements. Immutable means that the elements, they cannot be changed. Once you have defined a tuple, once you have put the elements in it, they are locked in. You cannot change those elements. That's what immutable means. Tuples, they tend to be a little bit faster than your list, and they tend to be very good, very ideal when your data remains fixed. That is, you are not performing many insert or update operations. Okay, if you're not performing many insert and update operations, tuples are good candidates. They tend to be a lot faster. By the way, a tuple can contain duplicates just like your list can, but a set cannot contain a duplicate. They're heterogeneous, meaning they can contain elements of different kind. They can have integer, they can have string, they can have boolean, they can have a tuple inside a tuple, so on and so forth. All right, so how do you define a tuple? Let me copy this and paste it over here. And let me just comment these lines out. All right, so I define a tuple. I'm saying TPL equal to apple, banana, cherry. In this case, my tuple consists of strings. There are 3 strings over here. So this is a tuple of strings. Run this and I print my tuple. It prints my tuple. Now if you notice, tuple is using this bracket. It actually uses this crescent shaped bracket, this moon shaped bracket. Okay, and if I print my type over here, it prints type tuple. Another way to create a tuple is using a list. Sorry, is using without that curly brace, I mean without this crescent shape parenthesis. Here I'm actually specifying, I'm creating my tuple by specifying a string and then I'm putting a comma in between, string and comma. So in this case I'm not using this right here, this parenthesis. So if I run this, it's also going to create a tuple for me. You can see it's a tuple and it's a class tuple, I can also create a tuple from a list. So this is my list, fruits, okay. My tuple equal to, and the word I'm going to be using is tuple. Type tuple fruits. So it's going to take this fruits list and it's going to convert into a tuple. And if I print my tuple and type tuple, it's going to print my apple, banana, cherry, and it's going to print class tuple, which is this right here. Side note, occasionally you will see you may actually have to create a one element tuple. So the way you create a one element tuple is you open up this crescent shaped parenthesis and type your element and then put a comma in the end. This is important. You have to put a comma. For this comma is what it creates a tuple. If I run this, it creates one element. You can see it's a tuple, right? And you can even see what type of class it is. It's a tuple class. I'm printing the type and it prints the type. It's a tuple. On the other hand, if I don't use the comma, okay, if I don't use the comma like this, I'm not using the comma over here, and now if I run the same thing, it's gonna create an apple. You see, this is a string, and what type of class it is? It's a string class. So just be aware, the way to create a tuple is open this bracket, close the bracket, and put a comma in there. This is very important. In the previous ones, I did not put comma. You see, I did not put comma over here, but in this case, I had to, because this is a one element tuple. Tuple can contain various types of elements. So for example, let's look at this tuple right here. Let me just comment these code out right here. Okay, so in this case, I have a tuple 10, 20, 25.75. In this case, it contains an integer, and a float value. So if I print this out, it prints my tuple 10, 20, 25.75. I can also have a tuple of strings. Jesse, Emma, Kelly, and I print it out, it prints my tuple. I can also have a mixed type, a tuple that contains string, integer, a float value, and a list. Look at that, it's even containing a list. If I run this, it prints out that tuple. I can even have a tuple inside a tuple. You see, this is a tuple inside a tuple. There's a string, and there's a number, and then there's another integer, and there's another integer. Run this, it prints out that tuple. Okay. Just like in list and string, you did index slicing and accessing elements using indexing. You can do the same thing over here. So let's say this is your tuple, apple, banana, cherry, and you want to access your elements. If you type fruits square bracket 0, so you're going to access element at index 0. Remember, this is your index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2. So indexing always starts with 0. So in this case, you're trying to access an element at index 0. So in this case, if I run this, it's going to print apple because this is my element at index 0. If you type fruits at index -1, by the way, you use square bracket to access an element at an index. So if fruits -1 will print the last element. So if I run this, it prints out cherry. Fruits -2 will be printing the index at -2. Now remember, your index in this direction is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. When you go in this direction, your index starts with -1, -2, -3. It goes like this. So if you see -2, it's going to be -1, -2. It's going to print banana. So this one prints banana right here. And if you want to do slicing, just like in your list and string, same concepts hold over here. In this case, your fruits 1 colon is going to print all the elements starting from index 1, which is right here, all the way up to end. So whatever your last element is. In this case, it's banana and cherry, a small tuple to show you the concept. Sometimes you have to do tuple concatenation. So you have two tuples and you want to combine both of them together. You want to actually combine the elements of the tuple. So let me comment this line out and there you go. So let's say you have new fruits and your fruits, let me take this fruits, copy, bring it down. There you go. So fruits equal to apple, banana, cherry. And let's say you have another fruits, orange, grapes, and apples. You want to concatenate that with this tuple right here, this fruits tuple. So you say fruits tuple, which is my this one, plus, plus, and then you're adding some more elements from this tuple. Now when you print this, it's gonna combine all of them together. So apple, banana, cherry, orange, grape, apple. Now you remember I told you something about ordered right here. Where was that? I was telling you that a tuple is an ordered element. This is what you mean by ordered element. In other words, the way or the order in which you're entering your elements, okay, is the same order in which it's going to get printed. In other words, it retains its order. So if you try to iterate or if you try to print this element, it's going to be printing in exactly the way it was entered. So this is what you mean by ordered elements. All right, tuple repetition. So let's say you have tuple fruits, I multiply by 2. So this is my fruits, multiply by 2. That's going to give me a tuple where basically you're going to have apple, berry, chai, and apple, banana, cherry, and apple, banana, cherry twice because it multiplies by 2. This way you can actually enhance your data. So let's say you have a data with only like 15 elements or 10 elements or maybe 6 elements. You can multiply by maybe 100, 200, and you can increase the size of your data. So this is a pretty handy tool to if you want to increase the size of your data, if you want to test a program or for some reason. Okay, if you want to check an existence of an element, you can do that too. So if you want to check an existence, whether if an element is present inside a tuple. So let's say this is a tuple right there. Let me just copy this, bring it down. All right, so this is my tuple. Fruits, apple, banana, cherry. I want to check if banana is inside fruits. If I run this, it prints out true because banana is inside this. What if I type kiwi? Kiwi. Well, in this case, it should print false because kiwi is not part of that. So copy, put it back, and let's run it again, and there you go. You can also find an index of an element. So let's say you want to find where cherry is located. You can type fruits.index cherry, and that's going to give you the index of that 2. 0, 1, 2. Cherry is at index 2. You can also determine the length of a tuple, just like in a list. So type length of the fruits, that's going to give you the length of the tuple, 3, because there are 3 elements, 1, 2, 3. Tuples are immutable. If you recall, lists are not immutable. They can be changed, but tuples, on the other hand, are immutable. So in this case, let's say you have planets, Venus, Uranus, Earth. In this case, this is a list. You see that? This is a list bracket. And I change the element at index 1. Index 1 is Uranus. I want to change Uranus to Jupiter. Okay, so I assign planets at 1 to Jupiter, and then I print my planets. And if I print it, it's gonna print Venus, Jupiter, and Earth. You see that this Uranus is gone and it's Jupiter replaced by Jupiter. On the other hand, if I do the same thing with tuple, okay, it will throw an error. Now watch this. You have planets. Now I'm using a tuple right there. Tuple. Venus, Uranus, Earth, same tuple, same elements. The different type though. This is a tuple, and I try to change the element of this element at index 1. I want to replace this with Jupiter. So in list I was able to do this thing, but let's see if I can do this in tuple. And no, I cannot. Tuple does not support item assignment. So in this case, I cannot change the element of a tuple. Tuples are immutable. Okay. Then you can also count how many elements of a certain type are there in a tuple. So in this case, I want to count how many 60s are there in this tuple. So in this case, 10, 20, 60, 30, 60, 40, 60. And if I say t.count, that's going to give me the count of 60. In this case, if I count of 600, it's going to give me the count. So let's do, and there you go. The first count, when I print my first count, is 3. Because there are 3 60s. You can see 1, 2, 3. There are 3 60s. So it gave me that count. In the next one, I'm trying to find how many 600s I have. Well, look at that. There are no 600 over here, right? So because there are no 600, if I print my count, the answer is 0. And likewise, just like in a list, you have minimum, maximum, sum. You can do all that. You can do the same thing with a tuple. Let's say this is your tuple. You want to find out the minimum. It's going to give you the minimum element. If you want to find out the maximum, there's a inbuilt function called max. That's going to give you 60. If you want to calculate the sum of all the elements inside a tuple, it's going to give you the sum. And likewise, if you want to do the length of this element, it will give you the length, 7 elements, because there are 7 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 elements. Okay, so this concludes the session on tuples. Thank you.